loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Well, you should be, because you are dirt!
Two Worlds 2 was released in 2010 by Topware Interactive and Reality Pump, who are one and the same for all intents and purposes. Released to understandably lukewarm reviews, I remember reading somewhere that this game was originally planned as a DLC for Two Worlds 1, and that's what it should have been, because this game feels even more unfinished and rushed than the first game. Is that just going to be a running theme with these Eastern European games? This game is an abomination. I initially planned to release this within a few days of my video on the first game. It took me about 11ish hours to complete this in total, but I had to space those 11 hours out over 3 weeks because I couldn't stomach more than 1 hour of this game at a time before I started looking at Chinese steel forging jobs, because I'm sure being scorched alive or sucked through comically unsafe machinery due to a complete lack of health and safety is preferable to playing this pile of shit. From what I'm led to believe, this game has clung on to a slightly larger cult following than the first game, and I, for the life of me, don't know why. The graphics are the only improvement, and I tried everything I could to get this game to run half decent, and I just couldn't get it to look normal on my 1080 Ti. Constant frame drops and random stuttering. I know this is probably isolated to my experience, but it did affect this review. They threw all the story of the first game out of the window, which I'd be totally fine with because that game wasn't exactly Lord of the Rings, except in this game the story makes absolutely no fucking sense. I killed Gandahar in the first game. I saw me and Kira right away at the end of the first game. Gandahar's back, fine. I'm in prison, fine. But now there's these Verita crystals everywhere, and there's a dragon, and an orc lady who says she isn't an orc.
That's because I'm not an orc.
But at the end of the game, she uses her blood and says, orc, as the blood goes on it. Like, what the fuck, guys? Could you not keep track of your own writing? Because I finished it in 11 hours. 11 hours. It's not like it's a 100-hour game where I could almost excuse it. Also, if you're going to scrap the first game's plot, why did you even reuse the whole Kira Aziral story if all you're going to do is add these crystals and say, yep, that's a brand new story? What a stupid idea. I know in my other videos I've added a rundown of the story. I've got all the notes right here, but it's honestly not even worth the time. I just want to get this out so that if some poor sucker sees this game on sale, they don't buy it. The voice acting is worse than the first game by a country mile. All of the janky charm of the first game is gone and has been replaced with soulless, barely serviceable voice acting.
Well, it was, till those damn baboons started stealing my tools. Every time I try to get new ones, the filthy animals come back and take something else.
The music is just generic trash. The sound effects in general are a slight improvement over the first game, but it doesn't take much considering swords sounded like baseball bats in the first game. And this game has possibly the worst controls of any third-person RPG I've ever played. Right mouse button does everything. It sneaks, it runs, it blocks, it makes the horse run, it aims bows. It feels like shit. The interface is just awful to look at. I feel like I'm playing some Korean phone game. Aiming with magic is shit. The melee, while they slowed it down, still feels way worse than the first game. You can't buy stacks or sell stacks at the shop. The gambling is rigged. They gutted the alchemy. It's just a bunch of bullshit World of Warcraft style kill 5 boars quests. Fuck this game. They put in a lockpicking minigame, and I hate lockpicking minigames. I honestly wish there was anything that is actually good here, but there just isn't. People will tell you the magic system is good, but it isn't. It's just different. It's the same as the first game, where you put different cards together, but in this one, the effects are slightly more pronounced than the first game. But 90% of the cards that I put together just seem to throw rocks and chairs around, which is funny. Is it good? No. They even removed most of the freeform elements of the magic system of the first game, so you can't just add as many cards as you want and go around and buy them. Now you need a certain level of magic to use a certain amount of cards, and it's split between 4 skills. Puh. Yes, some of the areas do look better, but honestly they should all look better because of the graphics overhaul, but they don't. The entire desert section drags on for far too long. Where did all the rolling forests of the first game go? Instead, we are left with 90% of the game being a brownish grey or blackish grey mess of rocks. The Japanese-inspired area Ashos is once again the best looking area in the game overall. While the RPG elements of attribute points and passive skills etc. are still here, the game is just plain boring and no amount of decent character building could have saved this train wreck. Feels like I'm controlling a bag of water, but the bag of water does everything with the right mouse button. I think I only paid $10 US for this game, so I'm not exactly upset about the value for money. There is clearly a lot of content here, it's just that you'd only end up seeing all the content if you're kind of sick and twisted freak. I really wanted to enjoy this game, I liked the first one. I really wish I could have come on here and defended this game and said, you know what, people were wrong about this game, but honestly, I don't think people are harsh enough on this game. Fuck Topware Interactive, and to think they were still actively developing DLC for this game all the way up until 2019, nearly a decade after the game released, is fucking embarrassing. Imagine not optimizing your disgusting piece of visual filth, but instead adding more tedious fetch quests and nonsensical bullshit. It feels like the story was written by 20 people, and they all worked on 5-minute sections, so it just feels like this disjointed piece of junk. I mean, as usual, let me give you some titles that were released in 2010. Fallout New Vegas, Mass Effect 2, Red Dead Redemption. I mean, if you bought this game in 2010 over any of those 3 games I just mentioned, you were robbed and you should have filed a police report at the time. I mean, honestly, what were they even thinking? Look, here's the last fight in the game. You see that? It's me shooting a fucking arcade-style ballista at a dragon that I hold left click to load. What were you thinking? You spend your whole time leveling this character, who is potentially a melee character, and the big bad boss fight of the game boils down to a shitty rail shooter. It's ridiculous. Is it worth playing in 2025? Well, surprise, surprise, no it's not. It's not even worth $5. You couldn't pay me to play it again, and I feel guilty for giving these guys my money. This game was just a plain waste of time, and I'm embarrassed to even be telling people on the internet I played it. 2 out of 10. And anyone who tells you this game is good is either looking on it with nostalgia or they're huffing copium.
I'm scared to death. I'm frightened and I don't know what to do. I'm confused and I want to go home.